Okay, we're going to get started with the final speaker for today. And again, we're going to have a question and answer panel style up here immediately following. So, Mark Braun is president of RX Heat, which is a company that provides prescriptive heating solutions for industries ranging from restoration and remediation to pest management. Their proven systems are a safe and highly effective alternative to chemical solutions. You can actually see some of their equipment back there, both a propane, which is our equipment, propane powered system, as well as electric heaters, air movers. So, Mark Braun.
Thank you. So I flew in from St. Louis. I'm technology illiterate, so I'll be trying to see if I can make this work. Apologize in advance.
Except when it comes to heat.
Except when it comes to heat, that's right. I've got wonderful engineers who work back at the home ranch that know a lot. So, is anybody tired of hearing about bed bugs yet? I actually started to learn about bed bugs about 3.5 years ago. And it was working for this company. And we were provided with we were told we needed to invent and design systems to tackle bed bugs. My background is in chemical engineering. Started my professional career with Dow Chemical making pesticides for a living. I believe in safe, effective use of chemicals when appropriate. So I told them, I said, "You're crazy. Chemical world has to be able to solve this problem." They kept on coming and asking, and when I started to poll the industry experts, the universities, and my old colleagues, and the folks at with the pesticide manufacturers, as well as the folks in the cities that had been dealing with this problem with pesticides alone, I found that they were just not being effective with it. And so we decided to invest and innovate like we do for all the different markets that we serve, and build systems specifically for this market. So I'll show you a little bit about that. I think it's important. I think everybody did an incredible job speaking. I do these sessions throughout the country, and in every one of the areas, it's a little bit different because the landscape of who's in front of me is different. The amount of time they've spent with this problem is different. So I asked one question before I get started. I think I know now that most people are tackling apartments, and you've got some hotels. Anybody from universities, that kind of setting? Okay. Anybody from industries that we haven't mentioned, like office buildings, what? Healthcare, corrections, retail. So the part that's interesting is, and you'll see that because the multi-unit housing complexes are getting hit the hardest. They are the ones that end up the first ones sitting in this seat. Sometimes I get to do one a year apart from each other. Like hopefully I'll be able to come back next year. And when I do that, I see the mix of the population change. And the groups that are coming are more from not only apartments, but more from hospitals, more from the general industry. And that just shows you as the education and as people start to understand in the group as a whole what this problem is, they start to get very, there's a big incentive to educate yourself. Bill did a great job on saying basically the key to solving this is not a technology that I'm going to show you. It's through education and vigilance. The problem is that how many of you manage apartments? How many of your tenants are here with you today? How many of them, if they were, would you guys feel confident that they could create a vigilant behavior pattern? Vigilance. I actually asked my kids, vigilance, what does it mean? Very bright boys. I don't know. The reason is because we don't learn a lot about vigilance in this society. We're not a very vigilant society. So vigilance alone, I think we're going to be failing. Education is an extremely important part of that, so I do echo Adam's round of applause. This is the largest group that I've come to whenever I've come where the infestation rate is not as bad here as it is in other areas. And so I think that you're here to stop the infestations from getting out of control and to stop it from becoming Pittsburgh, the bedbug capital of the world, which is not, like Gene said, it is not a great place to be. I mean, it's not a great place for business to be. Businesses, hundreds of millions of dollars can be spent on this problem if you don't do it right, trying to clean up the mess. Ohio has lost hundreds of millions of dollars on treatment, hundreds of millions of dollars on tourism. I'm making the statistics up, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot of money being spent to try to create a retroactive or a reactive approach. And you guys are ahead of the curve, so I'm really excited to be here with as many people as we are to see you guys invest time. And then when you get done with this, the problem is you're going to have to do something with that information. It doesn't only get solved through education. Cambridge's background, 45-year engineering company in St. Louis, Missouri. We get called whenever the normal people can't figure out the solutions. That's basically what we're specialized in. So anytime there's unique controls, technologies around heating, ventilation, the government uses us to heat 2 million square feet facilities, plus or minus 4 degrees, front to back, top to bottom. It's a kind of complicated thing to do. That's when we get called. Bedbugs shouldn't be that complicated, but you guys throw a lot of different structures at it. You throw hotels, apartment complexes, prisons. Every one of those structures is a very complicated structure, and so heating that safely and effectively is why we got called into this. I mentioned CSA certification. It's basically because of this problem and the magnitude of it, you're going to see a lot of people who come to you with heat, and they come to you with uncertified systems for different purposes. They go grab a salamander heater from the construction world, those big old barrel heaters, flamethrowers, and they're going to say, well, I can do it. I can do just what the guy down the street can do. You know, Witt's coming in there, I can do that same thing. And they're going to bring uncertified technologies. And I just want to warn you that it's a scary thing for an engineer and a business person to see when uncertified technologies are brought to try to solve complex problems like that. Secondary damage can be much worse than the primary problem. I mentioned who we work with. Primarily, we work with pest control operators throughout the U.S. to design effective strategies to tackle this. But we also get calls in from the government and from the airlines and from the housing authorities and rental furniture companies, moving companies, and anybody that deals with content, soft contents. They call us to design heat systems because of the complexities around and because of the knowledge that we've gained over the last 3 years around this challenge. I think this has been beaten up, but I'll tell you, the reality is it took me, I have a degree, I'm educated. It took me about 2 years to believe this statement. The statement down here, I don't have a laser pointer with me, but here. The statement down here, the findings presented here suggest a glowing pandemic that necessitates urgent action by all stakeholders. When they're talking about stakeholders, they're talking about you guys. It actually requires urgent action by all stakeholders, or else Pittsburgh will be in the exact same spot as New York. It is not a U.S.-only problem throughout the world. This is a study that NPMA did with the University of Kentucky that Gene mentioned. Dr. Michael Potter down at University of Kentucky, we work with extensively on the research side to find out what's coming to help attack this problem, which we would love to see it taken down. This is a global problem. You can see here, Canada and U.S. are the only ones that we mentioned today. South America is doing pretty well. But as far as the increasing population of bedbugs, it's across the globe. And so we've got to figure out how to defend and proactively attack on the home front, but it's not something that's going away tomorrow. It's something that we've got to become accustomed to, figuring out a proactive approach for the long haul. This is a very Do you know Google? Anybody? Yeah. That was a joke. Supposed to laugh. Google knows everything. They actually have data on everything. So I just want to show you, this is a year-by-year snapshot of what Google thinks about bed bugs. Can you guys see that over there? Does anybody know what state there is highlighted? New York. The only state in the United States that's highlighted in January of 2005. That's only 5 years ago. January 06, your beautiful state gets some highlighted. New York goes dark blue. Mainly coastal. And then the Colorado area. I love to ski, and I can't believe that they're attacking Colorado so badly. Next year, still getting a little bit on the inner side. You can see Ohio just on the same track as New York. You guys are still behind New York and Ohio, which you guys actually know that. January of 09, January of 10, and this is December of 10. Now, obviously, this is basically tracking the number of concerned individuals looking at this problem. The reality is that the speed at which this is growing, you are 5 years behind. No, sorry. I was talking in Iowa last week. They're 5 years behind. You're only about 2 years behind New York. If you guys don't do anything differently than they did, I believe you'll be exactly where New York is in 2 years. I may be wrong. That's my crystal ball. Gene got his. So you need to act differently than they acted. They didn't act proactively. They waited until the problem got too bad. Why are we failing? The reason I need to spend a little bit of time, I know it's been stated, but we get to see across the U.S., and it's kind of a unique perspective because we get to see what things are working, what are not. And the EPA's bedbug website says it pretty well. The myth is that pesticide applications alone will easily eliminate bedbug infestations. And so why wait? Why do anything now? We'll just wait until we have a problem, and then we'll call the pest control guy, and we'll apply the pesticides. He does that for everything else that we have. It'll work. The reality is that it requires a comprehensive treatment strategy, and that the one that's getting the most media attention right now, and the one that the EPA says as well, is that the resistance to some of the pesticides is actually part of the. It can actually make the problem worse. It can create a repellent area that they're trying to get out of. So you treat the one apartment, and now you've got them in 4 right next to it because of the actual treatment. So the treatment actually makes it worse instead of better. Those are some of those. If you're tuned into the national news at all, you'll see that 2010 was the year of the bed bug from a national media perspective. This is one that I think, this was I was at the NPMA Bedbug Summit in January just this year, and they mentioned a statistic of visual inspection being 30% effective. And I think that basically pest control operators right now in the marketplace, the majority of them are using visual inspection plus pesticide. So you've got resistant pests to pesticide, and you've got visual inspection that's missing a lot of bugs, a lot of pests. Whenever I ask for clarification on the 30%, the reality is that identification of an infestation that's of significant population is not where that statistic is coming from. That statistic is coming from, and I'll give you my own personal experience. We've gone through apartment complex after apartment complex, and we work closely with the pest control operators to set up proactive approaches to this problem. And so when we go through those apartment complexes, we'll go through with visual inspection, and then we'll go through with a technology like canines. And our best guys, the best guys in the visual inspection, are missing a large portion of the infestations. And so the problem with this bug, which is not the same, and I'm not an entomologist, the problem with this pest that's not the same as other pests is that one female missed is as bad as not treating. And so those, if you just trained the maintenance staff to go and look for bed bugs when they get around to it, and then you took that information and you treated only the places that you found them, even if you use the best technology available, all those that are missed are right there. They're just latent defects. They're latent problems that are going to come back and repopulate your entire facility. It's not a solution. And so killing the bugs that we can see is really not the problem. I mean, there are pesticides that are much different than pyrethroids and that will kill on contact bed bugs, but that's if you find them. And you can't find them, so how can you kill them? So that's true, and that statement, if you can't find them, you can't kill them, is true on any localized strategy. You'll hear a lot of people who will say, I could use steam to kill bed bugs, which they can. But it's still a localized approach, and so you have to find them before you can kill them. They'll come to you, the T with an X. Who was making a claim about T with an X? They have a cold blast, cryoblast system. Very innovative. I love it. I mean, I like inventors. I love, creative solutions to be able to help you guys manage this problem. But you know what? It only works if they find them. If they don't find, localized solutions don't work with this pest, because if you're looking at this room and you're trying to figure out where they're at, and you're going visual, do you know how long it would take? Do you have any, Adam, do you mind? Visual inspection of this room, estimate, your best guy, visual inspection, top to bottom, front to back, to try to nail down every infestation in this room. How long would that take you?
A week.
A week, right? Christmas. The reality is it can't be, to do it, you have to go through every fiber. You've got to break down the baseboards. You've got to do too much work. And so that's just, it's unreasonable. And it just doesn't work. So any technology that you deploy against this pest that's a spot treatment, it won't work just because you can't find every bug. The canines are the very cool technology. And if you team up with a good, solid canine team and go through inspection, you can identify infestations with extreme accuracy. The difference between identifying an infestation and nailing down every bug is still there's a big difference between those two things. Tenants underreport incidents. Tenants, I'll tell you what, they're struggling to make the rent. They're just getting by. They've been told that, if they bring up something that was maybe their problem, they might get in trouble. And so you could even be really nice as a landlord, and they will not tell you that they've got bed bugs. They're worried about the money that they have to spend. One study found that only about 30% of the people actually react to bites. And that decreases as age goes up. So the challenge with that is that, remember the whole problem with this whole bug is that one pregnant female is as bad as having, you didn't finish it unless you've got them all dead. Or they'll just be back. And you'll never be done. So think about this in terms of the tenants and underreporting. So some of them aren't reporting because they're scared of money. Some of them aren't reporting because they didn't know they had bed bugs. Let's just say it's the one person that's got a fairly decent infestation and they're not reporting because they don't even feel the bites at night. Bed bugs are coming up, feeding on them, going back to sleep. They're fine. So that one infestation now spreads throughout the entire apartment complex because of underreporting. Those were just some reactions to the bites. Technician after thousands of bites, no reaction at all. Deanie is a professor she's a research professor down in Virginia. And that was, one series of bites, she kind of welts up like a balloon, a huge blister. So why are we failing across the whole world? It's known as one of the most difficult pests to control. self-treatment, you're going to, with a professional pest control operator there, they will be able to tell if there's been self-treatment. They'll see blood smears on the wall. They'll see these kinds of things. These are not only dangerous and ineffective. I mean, they're not worth the money that you spend on them. This is a quick case study, and I'll run through this in 5 minutes, and then we'll get to a video on heat. Multi-unit facility using, this is their strategy for bed bugs. This was written down strategy is basically, I'm going to wait, if somebody complains, we'll treat. That's their strategy. Because they were doing that because they're going to save money. Anybody in that boat? You don't have to raise your hand yet. So May 2003, one report. June 2003, they get another tenant complain, they treat. If you can see back there, it's pink whenever they've treated with chemical. December 03, jumps up a floor. 04, they start to get a few in a row. July 2004, they get a few more. These are still just sporadic, only 2 every couple months. Do you remember Bill's statement that he said, an infestation, was it Rutgers? And what was the study was that an infestation left improperly treated.
Within 3 years, it spread to half a year and something like that.
Right. So here's the November of 04, December of 04. They're thinking they're saving money, right? Because they're just treating the ones that need to be treated. Watch what happens in April, May, June of 2005. In June of 2005, somebody actually woke up and said, we need to inspect everything with a pest control operator. This is all the infestations that they had. They were chasing around the same population of bed bugs, saving money for 3 years. Their infestation that started in 1 room and probably would have had 3 rooms impacted, now had over half the facility impacted, $50,000 worth of treatment costs. This is what happens if you use spot treatment. I have to get you here because there is no reason you would ever use heat to kill a bug. I mean, why would you do that? I mean, that's what I said to myself 3 years ago. It's labor intensive. You've got to, it's like a project. You have to bring specialized equipment, all those things. The reason is because localized treatment ends this way with $50,000 in treatment costs after 3 years of chasing it around. And you guys you've already heard that laws are not going to be on your favor. Litigation's not going to be on your side. And your tenants aren't going to be happy. So that's why a different approach had to be taken.